Senator Steve Daines, in a letter to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo earlier this week, pushed for a coordinated international investigation of China's apparent systematic cover-up of COVID-19, saying that it's important to consider, quote, appropriate punitive actions necessary to hold China accountable. That story, according to FoxNews.com, but Senator Steve Daines joining us right now live on Montana Talks. Senator, great to have you this morning. How important is it that we hold China accountable in the midst of all this?
Aaron, I tell you what, I think history is very instructive at this moment as we look at this crisis that's facing the world. Go back to 1918, the Spanish flu. The Spanish flu did not originate in Spain. It was called the Spanish flu because it was the Spanish media that first started to report on what was going on. You realize the Spanish flu killed more American soldiers than World War I did. It was 30 to 40 million people died of the Spanish flu. As the investigation of Spanish flu continues, it's probable that started in China. In 2003, SARS began in China, began in Guangdong province, there where Guangzhou is. Now we have COVID-19. It started in Wuhan. We need a full court press of the entire world to investigate what is going on in China and the cover-up of what occurred there. And the World Health Organization is part of this cover-up. They were not reporting the truth, Aaron, and they knew it. I mean, the Chinese communist dictators were covering it up, and WHO was complicit. And I knew that with some briefs I heard back in D.C. just a couple of weeks ago. They started telling us that the Chinese were only reporting what they said imported cases on WHO's site, because they had that website every day to report all the numbers. They're reporting the cases that were imported. In other words, if somebody came from outside of China into China, that's what they reported, but they weren't reporting the community transmission COVID-19 rates, which is where most of it was occurring. And so this is a great big cover-up, and it's time to investigate China. It's also time to hold the World Health Organization accountable, as President Trump called out yesterday. I fully support what the president is trying to do here, and we should stop funding WHO until we get to the bottom of what's going on.
Montana is talking here. This is Montana Talks with Aaron Flint.
All right, we've got Senator Steve Daines joining us here for the first few minutes of the show, so we'll jump right back into it. Senator, I know I got a great picture painted last Friday, shortly after midnight. There were literally bankers in Montana that were sitting at their desks, likely remote working from home, working throughout the midnight hours, pushing out support from the Small Business Administration out to Montana businesses that were in need. Just sounds like a record pace at which this aid is being delivered across Montana. What's going well? What could use some improvement from your perspective right now?
Yeah, well, this was a program that I pushed hard for a month ago as we were crafting a legislation to go through Congress. It was a legislation that would protect our small businesses because it protects the workers for those small businesses, which is the majority of the private sector workforce in Montana. We've seen an overwhelming response to this, and I want to thank our bankers across Montana. They've been on the front lines in this battle, helping these small businesses get these loans/grants to keep their employees on the payroll. This moved very quick. Think about it. President Trump signed that bill. It was a week ago last Friday. Within 7 days, including the weekend, they worked round the clock, got that system stood up, and I pressed Secretary Mnuchin. I was on the phone with him several times, texting back and forth. I said, Steve, we got to get this thing stood up quickly. Don't wait 2 or 3 weeks. That's the typical federal bureaucracy to get something stood up. We need to run and gun here like a private sector business in a startup mode. Let's get it out there. If it's not perfect, we'll fix it every day and get it right. Let's like software releases. And they did. They got it started up Friday. One of the first grants they wrote here in Montana was in Billings. Tanya, with her little coffee business there, she's got 50 employees. She got one of the first grants for like $70,000 to keep her employees in the payroll. That's a Montana small business story. Her husband's a veteran, a couple kids at home, and those are the kind of small businesses we want to be helping at this moment in time to get them across this 8-week chasm that we're facing with this sudden crisis that's hit our economy.
And I know the relief checks should be showing up pretty soon in folks' banks accounts, or they should be getting checks in the mail as well. One of the challenges, and I know you've been pressing for some changes on this front. Yeah, I know for you, I know when you go hunting in eastern Montana, you always stop at the Jersey Lily. A lot of these small town bars, they're cultural icons in this state. They're part of your travel list. But yet a lot of bars are being left out of some of the relief. I know you've been pressing, you and Congressman Gianforte are pressing to get some changes so the tavern owners can get some relief here as well.
We're working very close with our tavern owners at the moment. This is part of our Montana culture, the fabric of who we are. And the challenge is the current SBA regs put some limits on gaming revenue. Well, you know what? A lot of these taverns have a few video poker machines. And so I've got a request into Mnuchin as we speak and the SBA to change some of these parameters, because these aren't casinos. These are Montana businesses. That's the way we do it. You serve food, you serve some liquor, and you also have some video poker machines and so forth. So working on that right now, very important part of our small communities across Montana. And these tavern owners have been hit hard. They literally have been forced to shutter their doors. It's time to give them some relief. What
do you think we need to do next? I know there's talk about additional relief, or shall we say stimulus measures. What's being talked about next in the pipe?
Yeah, well, literally, I just got a text message, in fact, from Marco Rubio. Marco and I chatted yesterday, Senator from Florida. He was really playing point on the specifics and mechanics of this SBA plan. Literally, Aaron, the response has been so great that we need to replenish that fund. And so we're putting a unanimous consent request on the floor of the Senate here today. I just hope the Democrats don't oppose it. I'm concerned they might, because they want some of their other programs included as well. I tell you what, let's double down on what's working. There's an old saying, when I was in the private sector for 28 years, you feed your strengths, you starve your weaknesses. Let's continue to feed these programs that are providing immediate relief to the workers of Montana, the small business of Montana. And so I'm hoping we get that through today, so we open up access to more funds here to help these small businesses across our state.
About a minute or so to go here with Senator Steve Daines. Speaking of what's working, we heard even from the doctor yesterday that this hydroxychloroquine that President Trump has referred to has been working in some cases. Is there a way to get more of that in Montana?
You know, there is. We're working that as well. In fact, I was literally texting back and forth this morning with Dr. Steve Hahn. Dr. Hahn is an MD. He was from the MD Anderson clinic there, the famous cancer clinic in Houston. He came to D.C. to run the FDA for President Trump. He is a great guy. He's trying to push down these barriers to move as fast as possible. So we're looking at, the hydroxychloroquine is one. But I tell you what, Aaron, what is encouraging is the work being done right now with the private sector, these great scientists in the private sector, these innovators who are looking at these vaccines as well as these drugs that will protect us coming into the fall. Here's my concern, Aaron, and this is similar to what happened with the Spanish flu in 1918. It wasn't the first wave that was the most devastating with the Spanish flu. It was the second wave. Yeah. We need to make sure we are protected in the fall. And you're going to get immunity one or two ways.
The next one, yeah.
Either by contracting the virus or by getting a vaccine or a drug that protects us. We've got to get this available to the American people by the fall, and I'm personally
we got to hold it right there.
Anyway.
Senator Steve Daines, grateful for your time.